distinguished students. It's a pleasure to meet with you once again. I'm so excited to be here. This is LIS 206 Introduction to Information Science. Today we are having lesson 3. Lesson 3 talks about the information cycle. Lesson 3 talks about the information cycle. I am your facilitator. My name is Dr. Ajie Ifoma Abigail from Faculty of Education, National Open University of Nigeria, Department of Library and Information Science. I'll see you in class. Welcome back. Like I said earlier, today we'll be learning information life cycle. Information life cycle. What really is information life cycle? We all know that life cycle is like the beginning to the end of a thing. So we are going to learn about the beginning to the end of an information. At the end of this class, you should have learned the definition of research life cycle. You should have learned how to itemize the stages of the research life cycle. And lastly, to explain in detail each section of the research life cycle. I have a class activity for you to kick off the class. What do you understand by the term life cycle? It's a term some of us use when we're talking to people. But in this context, or in any context at all, what do you understand by the term life cycle? What is a research life cycle? What do you understand by a research life cycle? A research life cycle is a process that the researcher takes to complete a study, that is from inception to completion. From the day the research starts till the day the researcher drops his pen that he or she has completed the research. Research data management is involved in each step of process of the research life cycle process. There are different processes of a research life cycle. That is to say, there are different stages of a research life cycle. We also have a research life cycle in the library, and that is what we are going to take a look at now. There are 5 stages of the research life cycle and supporting library services. The first stage is idea development. The second stage is funding. The third stage is proposal. The fourth stage is conducting. And the fifth stage is disseminating. Under idea development, the researcher is looking for an idea to write on. He's thinking of what area to write on. He's thinking of how he can develop his idea into a full research. There are some things that are under the idea development. First of all, you need to find sources. In finding sources, I'm talking about data sources, maybe collaborators that also want to write the same thing as is writing. The researcher needs to look for literature in that area. All those fall under idea development. The second one, which is funding, basically means providing money for the project at hand. Looking for various sources to achieve the project at hand. And there are some sub headings under funding. The first one is like learning grant seeking tools. There are grant seeking tools, and so the researcher has to learn these grant seeking tools. The researcher has to identify specific grant opportunities and then find alternative sources for grants. The third stage is proposal. That is immediately after funding. And proposal is actually the blueprint of your research work or the summary of it. That is writing the research work in a nutshell. Here, the researcher has to prepare data management plan. The fourth stage here is conducting. And under conducting, the researcher has to manage citations. The researcher has to conduct systematic review. Here, all references need to be cited. In order to avoid plagiarism, all references need to be cited. And then the last stage is disseminating. Under disseminating, the researcher has to select journals, has to identify access journals in the field, high impact journals. The researcher has to manage copyright, has to cite grants, has to track research impact, and lastly, has to deposit his or her work in the digital repository. These are the 5 simple stages of the research life cycle and supporting library services. Before this class draws to a close, I have a class activity for you. The question is, itemize the stages of a research life cycle that supports the library. Itemize the stages of a research life cycle that supports the library. This shouldn't be too difficult for you because we just treated it. Kindly send your answers to the email address I'll give at the end of this session. Kindly send your answers to the email address I'll give at the end of this session. In summary, we have learned the definition of a life cycle, that's research life cycle. We have learned the stages of research life cycle, which are idea development, funding, proposal, conducting, and disseminating. If you have further questions on this, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is iajie@noun.edu.ng. My name is Dr. Ifeoma Abigail Aje. Thanks for a wonderful time. I'll see you in the next lesson.